what's the difference um, between workers' comp and just a general liability? I was taught get general liability, and that's enough to cover you. What is general liability, and what does it cover, and how does it contrast with workers' comp?
Okay, workers' comp only covers your employees. Does not cover your customers. Does not cover somebody come and visit your, your office. So if your employee falls down at the office, workers' comp would follow them. It would cover them. But how about if I go to a doctor's office and there's a wire on the floor and I trip on the wire and I fall down and I get, and I hit my head on the wall and an ambulance come take me to the doctor. It happens all the time. But like people who go test furniture, like, dining room tables, the chair could break and fall down. And, so anything that happens to a customer, a third party, a client of mine, could be a visitor in my business premises. I, as a business owner, have the responsibility of that person coming to my business. I need to cover them. If they fall down, something happens to them. That's the first part of general liability that covers what we call slip and fall injury. So premises liability. But also, I sell products. Let's say I manufacture a product and I sell that to the public. Somebody uses my product, they get hurt, or causes somebody some property damage somewhere. That needs to be covered too, because I am selling a product to you. Or I come to your house and fix your plumbing, and 2 years later it starts leaking and the whole house is a mold now.
Oh, wow.
You have to cover that. I did a faulty work for you, right? As a contractor. So my liability would cover also what we call complete operation. So the work that I did for you, or let's say car mechanic. I take my car to be fixed, and they forget to put oil in my car, and I go outside. My engine is burned. It's your fault, right? As as a car mechanic. Wow. So that would cover also, property damage that is caused by your work. So those are all general liability coverage that, now this is not mandatory. The law doesn't require to have that, but
wisdom does.
Yeah, wisdom does, number one. Your own conscience, number one. Number two, if you have a bank loan or you have a landlord, let's say people always rent an office or rent a place, right? The landlord always would make you get general liability, because if there's a lawsuit, they're gonna sue the owner too of the building. They're not gonna only sue you, they're gonna sue the owner. So owner always requires the tenant to get general liability policy and also cover them in their policy. Or the bank. Let's say, you buy a building, okay? There's always, some mortgage involved. And the bank would also require the tenant or the buyer to get general liability policy. Because somebody falls down, somebody gets hurt, they're gonna sue everybody, including the owner, the bank. So they need to be covered. So it is not mandatory, but it has become mandatory more and more and more.
Okay. So you got these extra products that go beyond the general to specialized coverage.
Yes.
That could really be a pain in someone's side if they do get, some type of lawsuit later for negligence and stuff. And do you guys deal with what is it? Omissions? What's the insurance?
Errors and omissions.
Errors and omissions.
Errors and omissions. Errors and omissions is for people like me, people who are licensed to work, like counselors, doctors, attorneys, people who give people advice. They're licensed people. They need to be covered for their mistakes. I could make a mistake. I could, give you guys the wrong policy, or not give you enough coverage, and you go have an accident, something happens, and you're not covered. But that's my mistake, my error. So, or like a doctor, malpractice insurance, attorney the same way. They need to also purchase that, what we call E&O, errors and omission policy, that covers our mistake that we know we do. Now, again, I know doctors are mandatory to have that, sort of attorneys. The bar association makes them to get that, because it happens all the time. They give the wrong advice, they do the wrong whatever, and somebody always gets hurt. So they need to get that E&O. For us, also insurance agent, we cannot work with any company without E&O. E&O is, it's mandatory for us.
Okay.
You know, we always make mistakes. So that's not liability. That's, you know, that is a professional liability.